Hello everyone, today I want to talk about Asgore. So as you know, Asgore gets a lot of hate within the fandom, and I just kind of find it a little bit stupid because you can also put some hate on Toriel. Like, really think about it, right, when it comes to Asgore. He lost the war, he's the king of monsters, lost the war, monster kind is literally underground. All the pressure is not only put on him, but he has to think of ways with the resources, how everything's gonna work while they're underground. Bro has lived for, I don't know, for how many centuries, seeing family and friends, different monsters, like, past, different generations of monsters, right? When it comes to Toriel, like, look, I understand, the whole thing with their children dying, that devastated them, but still, Toriel dipped to the ruins. She could have stayed, maybe supported some of the monsters, used some healing magic. Toriel is a motherly figure. Like, she could have helped the rest of monster kind, but no, she just dipped. And the thing about it is that makes it like so like strange or funny that I saw in like a TikTok comment is that nobody has seen Toriel or Asgore in like how many years. So there are like monsters that don't even know what they look like. They just know that there's a guy named Asgore and there was a girl named Toriel and they were the king and queen, and then they basically divorced and the queen dipped somewhere. Not only that, like look. Not only that, Toriel's kind of a hypocrite because I forgot which route it was. I think it was like the neutral route where she comes in and saves Frisk. It's like she talks about how, oh, Asgore, you could have taken a soul up to a surface world and and gotten some food and stuff. Y'all gotta remember, it's a kingdom of monsters down there. I don't think there's enough food he could have gotten to feed all of them. I don't even think there was enough food to feed half of them. And then, let me ask you something, right? If you saw a walking giant monster, right? Like, I don't know how tall. I think Asgore's like 10 feet tall, right? Walking around, right? You mean to tell me they wouldn't find this man, skin him, and be like, okay, let's see what we can learn from this man. It's all fun and games till Mariori pops up from Bleach. Like, the least Toriel could have done is at least taken one soul. But no, she wants to demonize Asgore. Like, don't get me wrong, Asgore's not sunshine and rainbows in this either. Like, as I'm saying, yeah, don't get me wrong, Asgore is no saint in this either. Like, you gotta remember, he's a boss monster, so his body works differently, his body's a little tougher, right? He could have done a little bit more for assistance. Like, let's say, for example, when it comes to, like, medicine and, like, vaccination, right? His body's a little tougher. They could have tested a few things on him here and there. Not the determination, though, not the determination. Because we all know what happened. We all know what happened. We've seen some of the monsters in the labs, okay? But while we're on medicine, Toriel would have, bro, if she would have stayed or like at least been maybe someone close by, her healing magic could have came in clutch for like so many monsters. Like, a kid falls on the knee, on the head, bleed, stuff like that. She could have been there to, same thing with Asgore. She could have been there to like, teach the youngins about, the races since they've been alive so long. Just to make sure I said teach them about their own race, like, from what I've seen, I don't really see a lot of monsters that are like Monster Kid. It seems like a lot of the monsters that were originally like maybe banished to the ground are either somewhere else within the underground that don't want to be like seen, or it's just that it just got to the point where now there's only like, what, 3 members of the surviving species left, unless it's like a, what's that one monster called? Ribbit, I think, yeah. Here's my final verdict on this, right? Asgore and Toriel, yeah, both hypocrites. Asgore leaves a little bit too much to like, fate within like, Undertale. If they both would have stayed, like, they didn't even have to be together, they didn't even have to do all that. It would have been just better, if Toriel stayed, helped the monsters. Same thing with Asgore, helped the monsters. Toriel healing, Asgore with leading, trying his best to maintain things, even through the sadness and death of his children. For both of them, there they are. And like, I think this shows a little bit more within Deltarune, because within Deltarune, you're shown that Toriel and Asgore are not the best parents. Like, they both neglected Chris, right? But a lot more people do tend to focus on Asgore since, the whole events of Undertale, right? And like, look, I will say that it is creepy that Asgore does stalk Toriel. Like, dude, you just gotta accept that it's over. And I keep wondering, right? if I remember from what I remember from Deltron, right? Asgore investigated a case, and I'm pretty sure that case involved deaths, right? And then bro basically lost everything invested in that case, and it got what to the point where toriel couldn't take him anymore and then divorced. I don't know. I have not refreshed my mind on that, but if you know, please comment down below. I would really appreciate that.